So, Jeff, talk to us about what changes we will see immediately with these new customs operations happening in Hainan.
Well, this Hainan Free Trade Zone is an extension of the trade zone projects that China has had ever since the reform and opening up period. And this approach is a way for China to test out new approaches in the trade area. Some of them they'll keep. For example, I think in other places they've had negative lists that they've applied to investments, and I see that's part of the formula here. So I think this is a testing period. I saw that one academic described this as an ambitious experiment in controlled liberalization, which I think fairly describes how things work.
When I was doing my research, the Chinese were talking about freer access at the first line, then regulated at the second line. What does that mean exactly, and what's the significance?
It means that the first line is basically the customs at the border. Goods can come in without being subject to customs. The second line is the line between Hainan and the mainland. And so there you are subject to Chinese tariff laws. One of the liberalizations they're experimenting with is that you can import goods into China, the mainland, if there's a value added of domestic content of 30% while the goods are in Hainan Island. So that's what they're talking about. It's an interesting idea. There have been, I think, variations of things like that in the past, but I hope that it's successful, and I think that it will be received well.
And what does this mean for foreign companies, businesses trying to access the vast Chinese market?
Potentially, it could be useful for people that are trying to come in. And so I think that this is very useful in terms of China's messaging. China is under international pressure because its trade surplus now exceeds $1 trillion. And I think a lot of foreign countries want to see progress on that. And so I think that there are potentially advantages that are out there. I do think, though, that we're going to see results in stages. This is not a new idea. This has been planned since 2018, and the laws were adopted in 2021. So this has been on a long trajectory. The Chinese planners in the medium term, I think, are really looking for changes in the Southeast Asia region. I mean, Hainan is the southernmost part of China. If you look on the map, the latitude is interesting. It's between Hanoi and Vientiane, so it's definitely a part of Southeast Asia. That's why I say in the short term, we're going to see activity as a Southeast Asia hub. In the longer term, the goal is for this to be a world-class trading center along the lines of, say, Singapore or Dubai. That goal is 25 years away, and I think that we're not going to see that in the near term. There's going to be a lot of work required.